Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Creator Hangout. Today we've got
All right.
Frankie B. Washington.
Woo!
Hey,
Who
everybody,
I
how you doing?
always love talking to. It's always great to
Oh
chat with you.
man, jeez, these guys, you guys dusted me off, man.
My co-host Justin Soto. Yeah, we dusted you off. Yeah, we put you on the
Dreadful,
shelf for a
dusty.
couple of
They're like, oh,
years.
I think we need. I know, put me away. They all right. We've seen enough of them already. Let's put them up.
Where's that Frankie B? Oh, there he is. Let's
I'm
pull
like
him
a
out.
mummy, man. I'm just like, put him back in the casket. Oh
No, man. Hey, it's great to see you, Frankie.
Oh, thank you for the invite. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. What have you been up to, man?
Whew. Well, one of the big things for me last year was I had hip replacement. I had two surgeries last year. Yeah. A lot of stuff. 2025 was definitely a crazy year for me. And I was really suffering. Like 2024, it was like I was having issues with my hip. And then my wife was like, "Oh, you need to go to a chiropractor." And I was all fighting her. She has a chiropractor, and I was like, "I don't know," but she was like, "Just go." So I ended up going to him, and then he said, "Well, before I touch you, you need to get X-rays," which is good. That's a good chiropractor.
Yeah.
So I went and got the X-rays, and then he looked at me and he said, "Hey, look," he said, "here's the reality." He said, "You have like degenerative, like it's breaking down really bad." He said, I can try to use stimulation, electroid stimulation to try to ease some of your pain, but you need an orthopedic." And so once he said that, I contacted my primary care physician, and then they put me in contact to a orthopedic, and that was in 2024. And then that's when the ball started going, where they were like, "Yeah, it's going to be breaking down." They said, "Well, you can try to be, you can go see if you can push it as far as you want, but by the age of 60, you might be in a wheelchair."
Oh.
And I was like, "No, dude." And I just turned 55. I just turned 55 last year. So I'm like, "No, dude." I just looked at my wife and I said, "I can't put her through that, man." So I was like, I said, "What's the next option?" He said, "Well, surgery. You get artificial hips." So I mean, like a cyborg.
Right.
And I was like, "Woo!
Well,
Will I be able to run real fast and all that stuff?" They're like, "Nah, dude, just slow it down, slow it down." But they said, "Yeah, you'll get these brand new hips." So I had to go through I did pre PT stuff to sort of get myself acclimated to working out. And then my first surgery was last year, February. That was for the left hip. Had to heal, did PT during that. And then I had to go back in for June for my right hip. And then I had to heal up again. So it took a full like year of me to really heal to a point where everything's good. And it feels amazing. I'm telling anybody right now, I am so blessed and that we live at a time where medical science is at the place it is today. I don't care. Like I used to lift back in the day and do all kind of crazy stuff, mountain climb, and I can deal with pain to a certain level, but then when it's debilitating, ugh. And I've had I've had like a few surgeries. So I've had some nerve damage and stuff like that, things like that. So when you have pain where it's nerve pain and it's intense to a point where you can't even sleep, you can't think, you can't do anything, then you need to really consider what medical science can do to maybe help you alleviate that. And I've done it, and I'm telling you, I'm so glad that I did. So yes, I got metallic hips, and I got a metal in my neck as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I've done
Whole
some
adamantium like skeleton.
Slowly becoming
Well,
Wolverine.
you play hard. I mean, when I was younger and stuff, my brother he was so athletic and stuff, and I tried a little football. Football didn't really hold to me. I think it's because it was the dynamic of the big brother. I was in his shadow, technically.
Yeah.
But I always was fascinated with lifting, especially powerlifting. Just something about it. Small little group of trainers or people around you support, but then it's really you, the lifter, against that mass. And that always was really, kind of, I enjoyed that kind of thought. So, but unfortunately, there was no push for lifting when I was in school and stuff. So, if any lifting I did, it was kind of like with friends and stuff like that. And I injured myself. I remember tearing my biceps because I got too crazy with some kid. And then, I stopped lifting for a little bit and I got back. So there was always these periods of time where I would get in a little bit and then let it stop. And then all of a sudden I would get back out and then I'll go back in. And then I would meet different people, try to learn different techniques of lifting just to kind of push myself. So it was always this push and shove and stuff and whatever. So I did a lot of that. Did some climbing, mountain climbing and stuff. It was interesting. Made a summit. That was fun. But I definitely put my body through some wear and tear while I was still doing artwork. So,
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
I feel like those years and years of just doing all kind of crazy stuff, it catches up to you as you get older. So,
Definitely.
so there you go. I've chilled out though.
That's
I'm
good.
I'm
No more
done.
mountain climbing.
I am done with just surgeries. I really please
Right.
knock wood, I'm done with them. I don't want any more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, it's no
That's enough
joke.
space. Yeah, I had that pain through my back leg last year. Terrible. Hello, by the way.
Oh man.
It's
So
enough
you think
space.
it was nerve? Was it nerve? Did you think it was nerve, Ben, or?
It could have been.
Yeah, sciatica. That's what I see. I had sciatic pain,
Yeah.
and that is by far the worst, man. Oh, it's no joke. Oh, but anyway, let's get past all the pain stuff. Let's talk about the real brass tacks here.
Yeah.
Art.
Let's talk about what we're here for. Art.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, so what are you working on? What projects are you working on right now?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, as always, Codgers and Cowboys, we got a brand new campaign going on right now, and so that some energy is going to that to push it. It's doing fantastic. But the other side stuff is I'm getting back into doing sketch cards.
Oh, nice.
Occasionally I still have my clients and stuff who are like in the more corporate kind of like, advertising and stuff like that. A couple of jobs come from art directors and whatever. I can see that pays the bills. It's not as glamorous, but
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough with sketch cards that I got a brand new sketch card client. This client has gotten the IPs, I guess I could say it, of Pacific Rim and King Kong.
Oh, sweet.
So I just it was a brand new gig that came in. I did a lot of cards for them. I won't give a number, but I did a lot for them, and those cards are away. They're done. They have them. And then I just wrapped up something with RR Parks. They had their last Ultraman set, so I did that. And then they
Cool.
decided to do a new Chinese mythology set with monsters.
Oh, nice.
I just sent those off, so that's done. And then I'm currently working on one from a person who contacted me while I was going through all my hip stuff and whatever. And I wanted to do some work with them, but I was like, dude, this is the situation. They said, okay, Frank, no problem. Just contact me when things get better. I hope you get better, which I did. I said, hey, I'm back and whatever. I wasn't really expecting anything. And he said, hey man, he said, we just finished our campaign. It's for Blackenstein, not the and as he says that, not the one from the movie, but this is a
Right.
comic book series. So, and he said, hey
Gotcha.
man, Frank, he said, I know it's crazy. I know it's the last minute, but would you be open to do sketch cards, man? I can open that for you because he wanted to get me doing trading cards, but I understood time, so I said, sure, why not, man? Just told him to toss a few, and I'll see what I can do for you. And I'm working on them now. So, and it's
Nice.
different. I've been trying to
Yeah.
be much more selective of the stuff I do because back in the day, I started getting the sketch cards back in 2009. Yeah, I was curious about them. I found them, I was fascinated, so I took everything. So I did all kind of different jobs. I did a lot of cheesecake
Yeah.
stuff, Marvel stuff, just a bunch of things like that. But those things never really were in my wheelhouse of fascinating me. I mean, I could do the job. I mean, that's the professional side of me where I can
Right.
go, like I don't know if you remember the Dimagian. You ever remember that a movie? I forgot who directed where the stone statue comes to life and he does his
I
face
don't
and he gets angry. Maybe the
think I've
chat,
seen that. I think
somebody
I've
in the
seen that
chat can
one.
remember. Oh, it's amazing. I think there was like 3 movies, and like he would just come to life. Like, say if the villagers were being harmed by some evil shogun, some
Yeah.
girl or something would go and she would pray to him, and then his face would be very serene, but then all of a sudden you see his hands go up like this, and it'd be this raging face, and then he would come off the mountain or whatever, come off somewhere, and he's like a god.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
And
cool.
and he would just kill the evil guys and then just go back to sleep. So that's that part where I sort of go into pro mode and I just
Right.
do the job, and it's just like boom, 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 get the job done, make sure the client's happy, that kind of thing, and then you move on. So I've been really trying to tell a lot of people that have contacted me saying, look, man, I love giant monsters, I love kajus, I love monsters too. So if it's something like that you have in that kind of wheelhouse and kajus and stuff like that, then I'm the person for you. Because
Yeah.
I know that I'm gonna get excited about it. I'm gonna give you 200%. Whereas if
Right.
it's something like somebody was like, hey, can you draw like Clint Eastwood? Can you draw like I love westerns, but I'm not a portrait artist. You know, I could draw Clint Eastwood, but would it be the most exciting thing? No. If you said draw like a robot, you know, or like Westworld when Yul Brynner with the robot, then that might be somewhat interesting if I could have some fun with it.
Right.
But again, that's you know, it's one of those things where hopefully the people who do contact me about sketch cards and stuff understand, and they can look by the stuff that I'm posting that this what's the stuff that's going to get Frank excited. And I
Yeah.
say giant robots,
Kaijus?
mech kaijus, daikaijus, and even like the regular monsters too, like Wolfman, werewolves, well, Frankenstein and stuff like that. Those kind of things too.
Right.
Something where it's really gonna be like, okay, this is up my wheelhouse.
Nice. Rex says,
Rex
I haven't
Toon.
done a sketch card in ages. This is Rex Toon, by the way. Yeah, I recognize
Hey.
the image. I just didn't recognize the name. Yeah, that's weird that YouTube's doing that.
Yes. What is it? What is it? Which image?
On his icon, his YouTube icon.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sketch cards are something where the level of detail that I do with my sketch cards. Back in the day, I found that I was really fascinated. There was a few artists, and I'm gonna throw some shout outs right now. Julio Nar. Julio Nar, he always goes by the name Nar. He was like the apex of sketch card art back in the day. And I don't know what Nar is doing these days, but I've always dreamt of owning one of his cards. He did this amazing Godzilla card where he had like the Super 8, like the level of detail in it. You look at it and it's original. This is original artwork done 2x5 by 3x5. And I dream of owning his work. And people spent thousands of dollars to get him to commission him to do artwork, and rightfully so, because you're not just getting you're getting a piece of art rendering. That's amazing. So he was one, and then oh boy, who was the other one? Lock Lim. Lock Lim was really good. He would draw multiple characters and scenes. He would draw out scenes and stuff like that. I found people like that were amazing that could do that. Sonia Yu, she was another one who would do like these amazing like just scenes. They didn't just do no, and this isn't like respectfully, this isn't like a nod to people who happen to just do headshots and stuff and
Right.
head and shoulder shots. You know, you do what makes you feel good, what your strengths are. But I'm just saying for myself, as somebody who loves sequential artwork, I love sequential artwork. I love doing storyboards, and that's what I was hired to do for many companies with storyboards and stuff like that. I love telling stories in frames, you know, and seeing and pushing myself to tell visually something in it so that person picks it up and they go, what's going on here? And then they themselves can sort of decide or try to build their own story from what I've drawn. I won't tell you what it is, what I think it's going to be. I want you to sort of look at it and maybe you'll build your own story about what the scenario is. So that kind of stuff, it challenges me. When I don't have a challenge, then why would I be doing it then? Then I just be like, I don't want to do it. I would just be like, oh, I'm done.
I found this NAR sketch card just to pull up an example.
Oh man, there's better ones too. That's just a black and white one. I wonder how old that one is. He's done some full color ones, man. Oh, he did it. See if you can do a Google for I think it's Godzilla. He did not, yeah. And he had the Super 8. I think it's called Super 8 in it. He did a whole scene, man. And I remember when he first put it out, I reached out to him and I was salivating. And I knew I was like, I don't have the bread. I don't have the bread to get it. But my dream, if another dream side thing was to do a trade with him. Like if he was like Frank, you know, I'm open to do a trade, that kind of thing. And I think we did talk about it. I throw things out there. My teacher always told me in art school, he said, Frank, he said, the worst somebody can say is no. He said, so you know, don't be that person who won't step up to just ask the question. And so I'll throw it out there and be like, hey, look, man, you know, let's do a trade or something like that. And you know, and see what happened. I think I got one with what's his name? He's got Groken, Kenneth Rocafort.
Oh, Rocafort.
Oh, Rocafort,
yeah. I was out of the blue. I was like, hey man, I said, I don't know, I love your style and stuff. I said, well, let's do a trade. And he said, cool. And then I ended up he did Bwin, Hunter Bob Bwin, which is phenomenal. He did a phenomenal job with it as a sketch card. And then I ended up giving him a puzzle. I gave him because I asked him, and Kenneth is tough to get a hold of. I just gotta say that because I kept asking him. I was like, dude, tell me what you like. And he was like, oh, yes, I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. Let me know if there's a particular character that you like. And it took the longest time, man. Hey, respectfully, Kenneth, man, I love you, man. But It took the longest time. Finally, he said, "Oh, I like Lobo from DC Comics," and I said, "Okay, I can do that." And I end up in my head, I created this scenario. I drew that a double what was it? Double card puzzle with Lobo and Hunter Bot Bewin. Sort of like
nice.
they're both because they're both sort of like bounty hunters. And I just
Right.
had them. I think Lobo had a beer in his hand, and then Bewin sort of like on the side and whatever. And I said, "There you go, man." And so that was a nice little kind of thing. And I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah. That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me pull up the campaign while we're talking
All
about
right.
that. So tell us
Do you
about
have it?
Cowboys
Pulled up? I think I have it over here on.
Oh, do you have it? Okay, yeah.
I think I do. Is it? Well, let me make sure. Is the Kaijus and Cowboys 1 through 8 on Kickstarter?
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
There you go.
I got it.
Well,
I'll
I
pull
think
this
the
up for
stuff
you
that
guys.
I have in front of me, if anyone was interested in seeing, is I wanted to show some folks some of the process of what I do. Like for instance, here, I put this up to my camera. I don't know if you guys can see this. I want everyone to sort of see that.
Oh, nice.
These are my thumbnails.
Oh wow.
Now this right here was the cover. Oh, over here. This is the cover of issue 7.
Man,
And
Frankie looks like finished pieces there.
I know this is actually paste up. Well, you know what? What happened was I'm also a collector of artwork, and I remember years ago, I actually was very fortunate. Unfortunately, I had to sell it too, but I had some Arthur Adams pieces, and I remember getting it,
nice.
and they were thumbnails, and they were like this size, and the level of detail that he put in them was really good. And then I started thinking, I said, man, if I put enough detail into it, and if I'm working for a client, it would hopefully eliminate the sense of doing major edits. So the client looks at it and then go, okay, I see what's going on. And then any edits that I make, once I scan this in, I can make hopefully small edits or in Photoshop.
Yeah.
So there's always a method because I'm a freelance artist and a commercial illustrator. My whole thing is about cutting down time.
Yeah.
Time equals money. So
Right.
I don't, if I'm having to go back and having to do edits and trying to chase the client down and they got stuff going on in their life, and then it's like, then that's eating up time, production time. Eating to the production time, this slows down the whole project. So I was trying to find ways to speed it up. And for me, this works because, once I get the approval for these, then I can scan them in. I blow them up to the size that I'm going to be drawing them. And usually I draw a lot smaller. So the size of these are like roughly 6, like the comic book size, actually, the size of actual comic book visually.
Okay.
I blow them to that size on my Bristol paper, which I'll show. And then I start drawing and, tracing, light table it, pencil.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just going with the inking and stuff. And then bingo bango, we're good until the next phase, which is the coloring. So these are my thumbnails. And here, I'll show you guys. This is actually, this is the cover. Oh, the cover for issue 8 right there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see, pull it over. There you go.
Nice.
And I tend to always put little notes. When I send my stuff into Matthew, after he sent the script, I do my thumbnails. I send my thumbnails, and then I also email him my breakdown of what I drew, so that he has an understanding of my ideas, like where my head was. And then we sort of meet in the middle, where if something comes in and it's like, oh, he's like, Frank, I don't understand. Then we kind of talk about it. We get on the phone and we sort of chat about it, and then we just figure it out.
That's really cool, man. How long does it
There you
take you
go.
to draw a page like that?
If I was to, I would roughly say maybe, oh, boy, let's say this. Let's put it into the span of 1 to 3 days.
Okay.
Because what happens is I'll end up doing the whole book. And then I like to sort of step away from my work. So that's why I added the extra day. Sort of step away, let it breathe.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back, and if there's any additional stuff that I can come in and maybe tweak it a little bit before I even send it off to them. So there's always, I learned that again from my teachers, where they were like, sometimes when you do your work, go in it hard, get the work done, and then step away from it. Let it breathe a little bit, then you come back and then see if there's any changes needed and stuff like that.
That looks
There
great.
you go.
Man.
Oh, thank you.
Some really nice detail.
Now with that, then we go to this. Now, what happened, actually, I'll show you. There you go. This is fun.
It is fun. Thanks for showing us the process, man. This is really
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
no
man.
problem. All right, let me see
Very
if I can.
helpful.
Oh, there you go. So right there is the cover of Kaji's and Cowboys issue 7, and this is on this side. This is issue 8. So this is the current one right now that's up right now. And as you can see, I've been really going through a phase. Remember, Stranko, right? Stranko
Yeah.
from Marvel. He experimented a lot with different kind of mixed media, and I'm going through that phase now where I'm really trying to push myself with my creativity, so that doing things like breaking up the logo, for instance, like this scene right here, this one over here, you see how I the logo is like he's blasting through the logo,
Yeah, that's cool.
and this is actually a die cut. So what I
Oh,
did
nice.
was I cut through the comic book board, and then I pasted on the back. I don't know if you can see it; it's really light. But yeah, you can
Oh,
see the
yeah.
full, like,
Mhm.
yeah. So I
Hmm.
actually pasted that background. That was actually a copy because I wanted to get the multiple faces of
Okay.
Hunterbot Bwin.
Wow.
That is awesome.
And so I can fit 2 covers. I can fit 2 covers on here.
On page, yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 covers, 2 pages, exactly. And the reason why, again, was economics. I started
Yeah.
sitting down, crunching the numbers, saying, how's the best way to save money? Because again, this costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it does.
When you have
Yeah.
to buy supplies. So it's all about speeding up everything. So here you go. Now this was tricky, where you got pages 1 and page 2 from issue 8.
That's nice.
Now page 1, I knew that I was going to be coloring, and page 1, as you can see, is the more ink. Oh, over here, the more ink one.
Yeah.
That one's going to be that was going to get scanned in and digital coloring to help it. I knew that. That's how I regularly do the pages for the rest of the books. But I've slowly been transitioning over, you guys can see, to marker, my marker painted work. And
Okay.
you're gonna have to read the story. There's a reason why I did it. But I was really experimenting with it, and I said, I want to see how far I can take it. Let me see if the camera can get it. There we go.
Is this like alcohol marker or is this like acrylic paint marker?
What a mixture. So I would say like Copics,
yeah.
Prismacolor, Karen, Karin. I use Karen markers, which are the fluorescent, so you get that nice fluorescent kind of look right there, where it's kind of glowing. And also Statler fine liner colored pens.
Oh yeah.
So I use a lot of different things when I'm working on my stuff.
That looks awesome. Honestly, I thought that was like you printed that out, like you colored that in Photoshop. And printed
Yeah.
that out.
No, that's
so
all hand
vibrant.
done. So yeah, so this is
beautiful.
all. Well, here you go. You want to see more vibrant? Here you go. This is
Yeah.
super.
Oh, nice.
Man. Oh, that's awesome. I love those like volcanoes in the upper. I guess for
Yep.
me it's the upper right.
There you go.
That is beautiful, Frankie.
And again, this is some of the stuff where I've always been one of those artists where I want to challenge myself. I tend to get bored. I think one of the greatest enemies to any creative artist is complacence. Being complacent.
Complacency.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. Thank you. That's one of the things that scares me the most. And so every time if I feel like I'm sort of doing the same thing over and over again, I say, okay, Frank, time to challenge yourself. Because I sort of go back to my old art school days where I think of like my imaginary teachers and they're just sort of like giving us class assignments. And I'm sitting there grumbling and hating the assignment, but then it forced me to to challenge myself to do stuff out of my wheelhouse. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
This is all beautiful work, Frankie. This is
Thank
awesome.
you. Well, I want people to understand that, yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into that what we're doing with Codgers and Cowboys.
Rex Doomsday
there you go. Thank you. Well, that it's the same thing. Like I tell people when I do my cards. Oh God, let me see. I can't show you anything. Darn it. But when I do my sketch cards, I think a lot of people don't really get the impact of like the level of detail and colors and stuff I have in it. I can't even scan those cards. I can't scan those pages because when the light from the scanner hits it, it just fades it all out. So usually when I take pictures of them, it's with my iPhone because the iPhone doesn't have that amount, that saturation and stuff like that. So that's the closest I can get, or video, or like when I do the videos and stuff.
Let me ask you this: how do you prep those pages then to send them to the printer? How do you capture that?
Well, what happens is, what did I do with these? Well, I did scan these in.
Okay.
I did scan these in for the printer, and then what I do is I just bump the color up just a tad.
Yeah.
You know how it is. It's like fudging
Yeah.
around until you get something that you go, yeah, okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
CYMK 300 DPI, and that's how they go. And then Matthew sends them off to Mike, who's our letterer, and then bingo bango. So
It's,
yes,
Rex.
I do, but it's so different when you do it with the CYMK scanning because it's print.
Yeah.
If for the real impact of it, the original artwork, people have to see the original artwork up close.
Oh, definitely. CMYK has a smaller color gamut than RGB or
Yep,
anything else.
that's right.
Rex Doom says I had the same problem doing blacklight cards.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's
I can
right.
imagine that's
I
a
have
pain.
yet to try those out too, the blacklight cards. I just did a mixed media. I just did sort of like a mixed media thing with a card, and I'm curious to see how it works because I was feeling that itch, and I was like,
Yeah.
trying. I was like, well, how can I make Frank? What can you do to make it interesting? And I had some wrapping paper from Christmas,
Yeah.
and it works for it, and I started cutting it up.
Nice.
And so it's like applied to the because I remember some artists who did that back in the day with sketch cards. They would just they would do all kind of like put actual like fur or cloth or fabric on something and draw. I think that's great. I think that you know
Yeah.
that's how it keeps you fresh because you're just like, yeah, let me just whatever, man. Even some people maybe they might have put like real metal and stuff on something. Say if a character's holding a spear and you
Right.
go, yeah, let me get a little piece of thin wire and stuff to stick. Well, you don't want a person to get harmed though. So you want
Yeah.
to be really careful. Warning, be very careful.
Right.
Frank told me. No, I didn't tell you anything. Be careful with
Blame it on Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was I want to say it was my junior year in college. I was taking a painting class. It was experimental painting.
Yep.
And I did a painting of the crucifixion of Christ.
Ooh,
And
nice.
I took raw hamburger meat, mixed it in with acrylic paint, and stuck
Oh.
it on the board, for the wounds. Yeah, that was
Wow. Interesting.
that was an exciting painting. And I painted it on
Nice.
a door, so it was like 6 foot tall by like 3
Wow.
foot wide. It was a huge painting. Yeah.
Oh, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
I remember sometimes I'll sit down, I have these memory, these glimpses of my past or the memories and stuff. And I remember I had a teacher, she was like the hippie teacher. I think her name was Tina. And I remember for one project, she sent us out. She said, all right, guys, you go out to the park, go find twigs. I'm like, go find twigs. She was like, yeah, go find twigs. So we found twigs. She said, okay, you like that twig? Like, I guess. So you're like, all right, cool. Come back to class. Get out your inkwells. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, get your inkwells out. Now start drawing.
Oh wow.
And we drew with those twigs. And she
That's
said,
interesting.
this is, and I was like, the point of the lesson was that it's not really about the tools. It's about you
The artist.
and how you apply it. Like I tend to do a lot of my coloring with what you call it, Q-tips.
Okay.
I color a lot with Q-tips and stuff. I learned that technique when I worked for an ad agency. We used to do. They had tons of the toxic ink, the real, this stuff where you couldn't breathe.
The good stuff.
This stuff was dangerous, man. The good stuff, but man,
Right.
you didn't even breathe, man. And I remember we
Yeah.
had like Tylenol, a Tylenol station where your head is like pounding from the amount of fumes. But I learned like how to color with like Q-tips. Like really quick, you dip in, boom, boom, color, and then sometimes with blotted like if you have an emergency and you cut yourself or something,
like gauze.
like a gauze. Thank you,
Yeah.
a gauze. I learned to color with those. Yeah, it was all kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, because it's not. I mean, it's nice to be like, oh, hey, tools and whatever, but tools don't, to me, make the artist.
Right.
You should be able to draw with your fingers.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
artist makes the tools.
Exactly. And you're and another big thing with kids, and when I try to tell them, I'm like, creativity is one of the key things that I pray doesn't get sort of diminished in a lot of stuff, because I don't want to see artwork become homogenized. I don't want to see
Right.
artwork become something where everyone is drawing the same. It's almost a carbon copy of the next drawing and the next drawing.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting diluted and diluted. The whole thing is that we need to be focusing on creativity. Will we be able to see the next generations a phenomenal like artists who are coming out with some really mind-blowing stuff that really challenge you, like the Geoff Darrows. I won't even mess around with, like you say, like Jack Kirby. That's just obvious. But Geoff Darrow, God, we just lost who was it? Sam Keith? No, not Sam Keith. Was it Sam Keith?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we lost Sam
Yeah,
Keith.
Sam Keith. Okay, right. I was thinking of the comedian. I don't know why, the old school. And then there's a few other guys who are just like tremendous work, man. Simon Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to see anybody who comes to level like Simon Beasley's work. His stuff was
Right.
trippy, man. It was like, wow, man, he made it work.
Yeah,
He made us all believe in his characters and how the physiques and the physiologies and stuff. That's the kind of stuff that I look at and I go, ooh,
Right.
you know. So there we go. Oh, he's using Sharpies. Good. I saw that.
Yeah,
Excellent. I use Sharpies too, man. Nothing is off the board, man.
They come in handy, especially at conventions. Pull out the Sharpies.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Whatever you can use to get you to the place you need to get to, then by all means use it. Don't get locked down into that whole thing where people go, well, you need to go out there and get like true horsehair brushes, and you got to get this $1,000 pen, and that's gonna make you into a great artist. That's crap. You could do a lot of stuff with just a simple Bic pen, which Robert Crumb used to do. People watch Robert Crumb was drawing with a friggin' Bic pen.
Yeah.
In his sketchbooks, full on renderings that were amazing. He ended up giving a guy his books, like a ton of his books, for what, a house in France.
Wow.
That's yeah. You gotta watch. You can watch that documentary about Rob Crumb. Yeah, he's a weird dude, man, and his family's weird. But with that said, he's one of the most tremendous artistic talents of our times, man. Oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let's go through your campaign real quick, Justin.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Matthew, by the way, I want to let people know that Matthew's the one who does all this technically. Me and Matthew sat down, and I think the reason why we've worked really well is that we understood the lanes that we were going to be in. We had a discussion about it, and I was like, I don't want to have to deal with this. I said my strengths is that I come from, well, it's the art, drawing and stuff like that, but also, I worked in advertising. I understand the sense of some levels of marketing and promotion and hyping things up and whatever, and that in itself is a superpower.
Yeah.
If done well. And so
that's
a job. I mean, think about it. You take two guys, and it's like we got these massive jobs. That's why when I look at people who are doing it by themselves, I mean, I always say, man, more power to you. I'm fascinated that people are able to pull it off. I don't want that extra stress. As I'm getting older and older, I'm just trying to find ways where I can get 8 hours of sleep, and time with my wife, and time to live, and then be able to draw. So that's the place where my head is at. And the thing is that I sat there and I said, look, I don't need to shoulder a lot of this. Matthew shouldn't have to shoulder everything. But if we split it apart and we do what's special and whatever, we can come together with something. We can make this machine work. And it's working. Knock on wood. So he handles a lot of that stuff. And then occasionally people will contact me about it, and then I pass messages on to him and whatever. I offer my small advice or whatever if I can, but I say, hey, man, Matthew's a guy. So he handles a lot of that.
Well, cool. Tell us about the book. Tell us about
oh boy,
Cowboys.
Well, I think the people that have been reading it, Kaijus and Cowboys is definitely something that's not what people think it is, and we love it. I mean, from the concept itself, we began formulating it back in 2019. Matthew just for out of the blue, like I'd been working with Matthew. Boy, we've known each other now. Our friendship has been over 10 years. Previously, Matthew had hired me. He had hired me to work on a web series. He had this web series called The Secret Lives of Supervillains. And he said, hey, I need an artist and such. And I was like, all right, this is interesting, whatever, and such and such. So we started building our friendship, our relationship through there. Where we worked on a ton of different, for this web series and stuff. And then eventually in 2019, out of the blue, he just started talking to me and he said, Frank, he said, hey man, he said, how do you feel about a book about Kaijus and a cowboy? Out of the blue. And I was like, okay, whatever. I said, I like Westerns and stuff, and I love Kaijus. And so as soon as he said that, I slept on it, and then I had this brain flash of this character, and I took Clint Eastwood, and I took Jet Jaguar from Toho, Godzilla, and I took Machine Man, Jack Kirby's Machine Man, and I fused them together. And then I said, okay, I got dreadlocks, so I'm gonna throw dreadlocks on the character and stuff like that. And I said, there's Hunter Bot Bewin, the bot with no name. And then Matthew was like, we went back and forth with names, and we said Kaju and Cowboys. We even spelled cow. I remember spelling Cowboys with a K, so it's Kajus and Cowboys. Because my mind, I'm from the time of like the 80s, when I was into that in the 90s, and I'm more into the whole rebel side of indie, where there's no rules, where you can spell comics with an X.
Right. Yeah.
If you're true indie, you're kind of like, it's like outlaw kind of artwork. It's rough. It's whatever. We don't care. We're gonna do whatever. That's where my head goes. So I did it, and we said it a couple of times, and Matthew was like, I don't know, Frank. It may be confusing to people, and he was right. And I said, you're right, dude. So I said Codgers and Cowboys, and we kept saying it over and over again for like a day. It was Codgers and Cowboys. Kept letting it flow, and it just sounds so right. Even though we knew that we probably would get some pushback, because Kaju is not a plural. What's the way? It's not a plural. It's like Kaju means a bunch of Kajus. So adding the S to it kind of. But I sat there and I said, it's ours. And that's the foundation of indie anything, is that you make it your own. You make it special. That's your calling card. So Kaju and Cowboys was sort of born 2019. By 2020, we had our first Kickstarter, and it was very successful. And then from there, we just were like, okay, cool, boom, let's just go. Kajus. Whoa, save that name, man. That might work. So we started on that path. We started going down that path, man, where we just was like, let's see how far we could take it. Matthew said he could do a 12-issue series. So I said, okay, let's do it. We hell and high water. We gotta be able. If we say we're gonna do 12 issues, we got to give people 12 issues. Now, the basis of the story is the idea of like the West, of that sense of like, what does the West mean? The ideal of it, going out into the frontier. In most cases, it was a sense of conquering things, taking land and stuff like that. And you coming in and you take it and you kind of shape it to your own destiny. Where then also you have the Kajus, who this is their home planet. They're already there, and they're not liking what's going on. So now they're pushing back, and pretty much you have this conflict. And so high above the planet, you have the father mind, who controls this ark, and this ark has the last remnants of humanity, and the ark is like the size of Rhode Island. So it's massive. It's massive,
right?
But it has the last remnants of humanity on it. These humans who are in these sleep pods and stuff, and then you also have all these robots that are kind of they're preparing the humanity to be able to colonize this world. And so that's technically what the basis of the story is, where now and the thing is that we treated this like a 80s animated show. Because we sat down and talked about it, and I said, look, man, Matthew, I love watching a lot of the 80s animated shows, because they didn't give you a lot of information. You would get like Jason the Will Warriors. I remember they gave you just as much, like the opening sequence. That's what you really knew about the basis of what happened. And then you had the monster vines. And then you go into the story, and then you know that he's looking for his dad. He has to get this root, and then the root's going to help save the universe from the monster vines. That's all you knew. And so you watched this show. You loved the music, you loved the action, you loved all this stuff that was part of it. And then that's what kept you going, kept you captivated. And I said, can we pull that off with this series, where there's action and such? But we find out as it's going on that the story gets deeper and deeper and deeper as you go along on this journey. The main trick is trying to keep people pulled into the story, because we live in a time and age where most people are coming out with 4 issues, maybe even 3 issues. And then that's it. So we're coming in a time where we're saying we're trying to bring a Bronze Age kind of appeal to people who most likely have never even dealt with Bronze Age, unless they've gone back to a LCS or ordered like old school books, and then you have to sit there and you got to read and get your dopamine and stuff. So yeah, the dopamine. So again, it's like could we pull it off? And it looks like we have. I mean, we've had people who have been with us from day one, and then we pulled in some new people to read it and stuff. When
Nice.
people start reading it, they start seeing that the term of cowboys is a much more broader term than how we portray it in the title. To
Right.
me, a cowboy is somebody who does things that I normally or any normal person wouldn't do. You know, a cowboy is somebody who would probably try to run on the subway. You know, you see back in the day guys, doing graffiti and whatever, and they're
Yeah.
running on subway cars in New York and stuff, and that's cowboy moves to me. That's something that
Right.
goes beyond. Like they're doing these things. So we're taking some of those aspects of that and placing that into our story with various different characters, even though some of the characters don't look like cowboys. But then there is a reason why these particular characters look like what they do. And again, that's much more
Right.
deeper ingrained into the story.
Very cool. You have 8 issues out already.
Yes. And usually the plan was that we said that we're going to try to put at least 2 issues out a year. So in August, we claimed April and August as our release dates. And so
Okay.
August will have issue 9 ready for folks as well.
Wow.
And
Well,
one of the
that's
things
fast.
one of the things about it was that and that's something where me and Matthew started talking over again was I kept saying fulfillment. Fulfillment, fulfillment, fulfillment. There is no reason why people can't get the stuff at a
Right.
reasonable time. I think it's a lot when fans are like sitting there and they're just like, I think they give a lot of leeway sometimes to some of the stuff that's out there. And I asked those people, those readers and stuff, that maybe it's not okay to give some of that leeway. We need to be on our toes to do this stuff. When I was working in advertising, one of the things I loved about it, when I was really into advertising, I still do a little, but when I was really, really into advertising, I had a strong understanding that I was working for the grown-ups. They didn't play around. I would talk to an art buyer. The art buyer is the person who they will call you up, call an artist up to pull you onto a job. They'll ask you. They'd be like, well, okay. So here's an example. All right, I got plans for Saturday, right? I'm gonna hang out with my buddies, my friends, do some crazy stuff. I get a call on Friday night, and they're like, Frank, we have some storyboards. We got around 30 storyboards, full color needed by Monday morning, Monday night, 9 a.m. for a meeting. Do you got this or not? What do I say? And
I
I'm being
got this.
paid. And when I say this, I'm being paid very well.
Right.
Very, 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 very. I can't even stress how well advertising, because you're talking big time money. You're talking clients that are big. I remember I did stuff for Gillette. I did stuff for Ford, all those big time clients. Delta was one of my first clients that I did work for.
Yeah.
This is a lot of money going around where the margin of screwing up is very tiny, and excuses are not accepted. You can come to them, and maybe if you work with them a little bit, then you can say, if you're truly sick or you're having problems, they'll say, okay, we understand. But you can't come right out the dock and saying, nah, I ain't gonna do that or whatever. They'll say, okay. It'll always be friendly. Okay, all right, sure. You can't do this? No problem. Guess what? Your phone's not ringing.
Wow.
Back in those days,
Yeah.
it was the phone wasn't ringing or the email wasn't coming. That's how real it was. And you know what it did? It showed me a realness that I was like, okay, this is what it means to be a pro artist. This is what it means to be serious, and that I have to treat this serious because this is what I went to school for. This is what my teachers were telling me about. I want to be here. If I'm going to play on this field, then I got to up my game, and I up my game. Back when I was when I was really hardcore in my 20s and into my 30s, oh man, I was killing it, man. I had so many different major clients and stuff. A couple of major agencies. I had like a temp, not a temp, what you call it? You know, the people agent and
Yeah.
agents. Yeah, I had an agency up in New York that would contact me for gigs up, from New York, Madison, the Mad Thing agencies up there, where I would get work through, with them and
Nice.
stuff like that. So it was really cool. Like I was really, really
Yeah.
busy, but there was still that part of me that still yearned for comic books. It's working in advertising is, yes, financially, Wonderful. If you're somebody who can deal with deadlines, I can. I love crushing them. I find it a challenge. Then that's no problem. I love all that stuff. The downside of it is that your artwork will never be appreciated to the
Mm.
levels of like how comic book artwork, the fans.
Right.
With fans look at your work and they truly do if appreciate that work. Like they look at it, it's like a gallery. You
Right.
know, you have your artwork up there, and it's like someone's like looking at it, and they're really seeing all these different things. And there's always been that part of that artist side of me. So I it's funny when I talk about why I love robots and kajus is because I've always looked at my life like I'm like that, where the kaiju part of me is just wild, crazy. I used to have an extreme temper. You know, I'd be ready to throw down people. When I was in my high school days, yeah, I would be like, yo, I'll step to you, dude, in a second. But then there was that robot side, the discipline that
Yeah.
I started getting where it was like, Frank, you got to discipline yourself. You know, you do this and you acting up, then there's the consequences. And I saw consequences. I lost a lot of friends prematurely, and many of them end up going into prison. And
Mhm.
so I was like, there's, this could lead you down that path. You need to have a level of
Right.
discipline. You can still have the kaju, and I think the kaju comes out in my artwork. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at the scenes and stuff I do in the comic books, I love drawing fight scenes. I love drawing like when my characters fight, I try to draw knockdown battles because that's how I see stuff. Like I want to give people that sense of like when these characters are fighting, it's not going to be one page of pinup a character. You don't even see the battle. It's just a character standing over somebody with a goofy smile on their face. I'm
Right.
like, no, 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 no. I grew up with like characters fighting, struggling through the fight, and then
Yeah.
somehow they're able to overcome this massive evil, and then everyone moves on to the next chapter of their journey. So yeah, so that's that. I guess that's sort of like my part of my psyche that I place into my artwork.
That's awesome. Oh, that's really cool, man.
Yay!
Yeah.
He's a madman.
He is a madman.
I
That's
am
why
a
we love you,
madman.
Frankie.
Hey man, thank you, man, and thank you, chat. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out
Yeah.
of the day. It's funny because
Genuine comics here.
hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, no, it's like I always thank people when they respond to me and stuff like that. Like people always talk to me like, I don't understand why no one really engages. I'm like, dude, you have to engage back too.
Yeah.
I in my mind, when someone takes the time to look at my artwork and even to comment on it, then I should be able to have the time to say, well, thank you for whatever. Or if they have a question, I should have the time to be able to speak with them. It's so weird when I see people and they struggling over like these things, and I'm like, well, you gotta actually talk to people.
Yeah.
You gotta acknowledge the fact when someone takes their time. I don't take any of this lightly. People who are supporting our campaign and people that have backed us since day one, I do not take any of that lightly. There are many other creators out there, super talented, s- that are struggling. You know, we work hard every single day, and we don't have the luxury. It is a luxury, respectfully to those people that do have that chance to have IPs that are really well known. We don't have that luxury. We're coming from the bottom up. We're in the trenches right
Yeah.
now. And while we're in the trenches, and you know what? I don't mind being in the trenches. I'm not saying this to be like sad and jolly. No, I'm actually glad. I'd rather be in the trenches with all the other people that are also in the trenches. And as we're
Yeah.
building up and stuff and whatever,
Yeah,
and the
all
thing is,
IP started as unknowns, right?
yes. And the thing is that we should take the time to really thank people who spend the time to come over to check us out. That's all.
Right.
That doesn't hurt. There's no shame in it or anything like that. You should thank people because they're taking their time out. They could be looking at 1,000 other different things. They could be not looking at our book and checking out somebody else's book.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I just want to say that to the people who are in the chat who have backed Kaizen Cowboys or have seen my artwork and stuff like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I put the link for the book, the Kickstarter, in my description.
Yep.
It doesn't look like I have any mods out there working, putting the link in the chat. So go to the description and you can click on the link there.
And I also want to tell people this is a great opportunity. I have a lot of people sometimes that contact me about commissions. And here's the reality. The reality that is that when you commission me, if you want to commission me, then I have to give you my commission price.
Yeah.
But with that said, usually when I do these campaigns with codgers and cowboys, you know, we want to make it something that's accessible to
Right.
everyone. And so I knock out a lot of what I would be asking for my commissions. So this is a great opportunity if you want to get a sketch card and stuff, or even a sketch cover if you so dare. Then this is a chance for you to get some original artwork. And trust me, I don't skimp on my artwork when it comes to
Nice.
sketch cards. I don't skimp. That's one of the things because that's for me. I remember my teacher when I was in art school. He said, Frank, he said the only equity that an artist has will be their reputation.
Very true.
And think about that. You want to build your equity. That's why I still get calls and work because people go, oh, well, these people know me. I built up my equity over years. I built relationships with art directors and creative directors, and they know that Frank, they can talk to me and stuff like that. They can send me stuff. They know I'm gonna get it done. You know that if whatever, they know all this stuff. That's my equity I built up, And so when it comes to get cashed in, then I'm able to produce stuff. Things are able to get produced. So any artists out there, your main agenda, especially amateur artists, if you're trying to get into this, you should be focused on building your equity up, building your relationships, making sure that people understand that you are for real, that you're the real deal, that you're going to be professional. And professional is something you got to cultivate. Just remember that. It's something where oh, did I stop? Oh, professionalism is something that you want to cultivate. Professionalism is about the fact of how you deal in team, a team kind of a team moment. We'll just say that where if you're surrounded by people who may have different ideas and stuff, and sure, someone may say something you're like, man, and you get, but what are you gonna do at that moment? Are you gonna shut down? Are you gonna get so angry that you're blinded by rage, or are you gonna sit there and say, oh, okay, let me just take a moment, let me get my coffee, take a sip. Which I've done.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that one of the first things I remember, when I was working on Delta, I'll never forget where this art director came up on me, and I was nervous. I was very nervous. I was young, and he technically was trying to how can I describe it? Denigrate me in front of the studio, and I was working it was in a studio element. And he just was kind of like, well, such and such, your work sucked. That kind of, he's loud voice. And I remember I popped up and I faced him. I'm ready. I was ready to throw down with this dude. And I was young, man. And I was like, it's dumb. When I think about it now, it was dumb. But then at that one moment, there was a production artist. His name was John. And I remember he called my name because I was staring this guy and I was staring him down. I'm gonna fight him. Like you're in a schoolyard. I lost my perspective on where I was at. That I was in this freaking agency and stuff, big agency.
Right. The kaiju was coming out.
Yeah, the kaiju was coming out. This guy was so angry. The way he said it, man, it was just like, it's those little things,
Right.
Somebody can call you every young name, but then it's like Marty McFly, chicken,
Right.
and it's like
chicken.
Ooh, and all of a sudden the heat flash and you start boiling. And I stare at him, and then the guy was like, he had this smug look on his face. And I said, I'm gonna deck him. I was planning in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna hit this motherfucker, kind of. And then I remember John called my name, and he said, Frank. And I shook, and he said, and I looked over, and he said, hey, come in for a second. I gotta talk to you. And so I said, yeah. And I walked away doing such and shoulders all hunched over, whatever. And then he pulled me. He said, Frank, go to the bathroom, throw some water in your face. And I was like, oh, he said, Frank, shut up. Go throw some water on your face right now. All right. And I said, all right, John. And then I went, I looked at the guy, again, I reverted to high school. You look at the dude, you're all trying to size him up. You're trying to say I know punk, that kind of thing. Went to the bathroom, threw some water on my face, looked in the mirror took a long heart. And then that's when the realization hit me. It started coming to me it was like, Frank, what are you doing? You just starting off your career. You're starting off right now. Hitting this guy, I guess you get some cheap pleasure or whatever at that moment, but that would have ruined me. That would have killed any chances for me to be in the industry. It would have killed all my dreams. I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you guys, most likely. I probably would have, I don't know, they probably would put me in jail for that moment. I don't know, but it would have been the wrong thing to do. And I remember that all flooded into me, and then I splashed some more water on my face, calmed myself, came back. John, the guy had stepped out or whatever. And then John came over and he said, "How you feeling?" I said, "I feel a lot better." And he said, "Okay, cool." He said, "Just Frank, just get the job done." He said, "Don't worry about it. Just get the job done." And I did. I focused all my energy. Sort of zoned out everything else, got the job done. And then I later learned that that guy got fired.
Hmm.
He got fired in the end because his temperament, the way his temperament was and whatever. I wasn't the only one. I just happened to be that
Uh,
victim of the day
right.
that he
Yeah.
decided to pull it out. But it was one of those moments in my career where I said, okay, I was like, okay, Frank, you're not in high school anymore. This isn't like you're on the street and stuff like this. This is something where if you first off and foremost, I didn't want to become a caricature. That's always been a battle for me where I was like, I don't want to become a caricature of something that people believe or think that I might
Right.
be. I
Yeah.
want to be more. I had a lot of teachers and a lot of people that believed in me that had a lot of faith in me to try to do better, to try to make something of my career as an artist. And so I used that as my strength, as a barometer for me to say, okay, do better. That means that a different kind of mindset on how you handle things, a mindset of respect to this thing that is called art. I am an artist. I'm a commercial illustrator. There were many other commercial illustrators before me. I am walking in the footsteps of giants. I have to respect that. I have to honor that. When I leave this world, hopefully the next generation will be walking. And I'll be walking alongside them in some other place, alongside Jack Kirby and all those other cats and stuff like
Right.
that. So the thing about it is it's so important that we as artists, even now, that we somehow show to these youngsters out here that this kind of way of thinking, this way of style of stuff, is actually a positive thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's my small part, man. I'm like one of those musicians on the Titanic. You too, Ben, Justin.
Right. Right.
Get those instruments up as the Titanic's going down.
What we're thinking.
I'm doing the job I was meant to do.
Go down with the
Oh,
ship.
man.
Doing
That's
what we
right.
love.
If we're gonna go
I
down,
can't
then
swim
we'll do
anyway.
it without a
Sorry.
plan. Ah.
Oh, that's awesome. I blew you up because I felt like what you were saying was just really important. Just
Yeah.
that professionalism and artwork. That's just a
Well,
really great point.
Well, I see the arguments against AI, and my feeling on it is that I tell people, and I've said it a few times. I said I tend to think of the story of John Henry Irons. Well, John Henry Irons. No, not John Henry Irons. Yes, John Henry Irons, and
Yeah.
how he battled against the steam engine.
Right.
And and of course, if anyone knows the story, yes, he did die. But before that death, he proved what the human will can accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson that I always took from that. So to the people out there that are fighting so hard and wasting so much of your energy and stuff trying to fight the evil AI and stuff like that, this is a technology that is coming. It is here, actually, not even coming, it's here. So the thing is that how do we combat that if we're traditional kind of artists and we want to showcase to people what the beauty of it? Show your work. That's it.
Yeah.
Videos. Do videos of your work. Do pictures. Show people this stuff that we are doing. Like I just posted that, show those images to you of my artwork. I remember once I got into like I was talking with this cat and he couldn't understand why I wasn't doing digital work. And I said, well, first off, and it was at a con too, and I had my artwork in a portfolio binder. And he was going on. He's like, yeah, man, if I work on digital and stuff like that. I said, okay. I said, all right. I said, that's pretty cool. And I guess it does speed your work up. But with that said, you came over here and you looked through my portfolio and you looked through a couple of pages and you were really blown away and your eyes got big.
Yeah.
That's a reason. That's one reason. Here's the other reason. That original artwork, eventually someone out there is going to want to purchase it. How do you sell your digital files?
Yeah, very true.
I guess you can sell prints, but then let's be honest, I'm a collector. I'm not looking to try to buy prints. There's that part of being a collector where it's the main addiction is based on being the person who owns that one item, that bragging right. To be like, I got a Jack Kirby page. I have a buddy who owns a Jack Kirby page. He owns an actual like splash page that Jack Kirby did. He owns it. It's not a print. It's actual real Jack Kirby artwork.
Right.
That's all I got to say to that. You know, that's what the whole point of collecting is. It's about having bread. Yeah, sure. People, I have figures too, and you know, figures are cool, but there's nothing that beats artwork. I mean, let's be honest, guys. If we somehow got our hands on the original like drawings for He-Man, whew,
Right. That'd be awesome.
whew, that would be amazing. That would be
Yeah.
incredible. Like I remember watching there was a documentary about it, and I was just salivating. The dude was drawing He-Man, the early drawing. I'm like, like you your pulses. Like I'm like, who has that artwork, man?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff that digital can never take away.
Hmm.
I mean, digital, I understand the mechanics of it. Yes, it does speed it up. Yes, when I look at digital, respectfully, to me, it's very clean.
Mhm.
And I think that's the best way I describe it, where it's very clean. I'm coming from a standpoint of like I love outlaw kind of artwork. I love
Yeah.
when artwork looks like it, you know, it just looks
Little-
it's like
little
a human
dirty,
did
little
it.
gritty.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Little grungy.
Yeah.
I like when those happy little accidents where you look at somebody's original artwork and there's a coffee stain on it. Maybe hell,
Yeah.
you know, there's pieces of artwork where my hair has gotten implanted into the paint. You know, it's just stuff like that happens and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, it adds a little extra. You know, if you ever gone to a gallery or to a museum and you see those old paintings and if you can get close enough, you see little hairs of brush hair or
The
horse
brush,
hair in
right.
it. Like, that's, you know, you can't take that away, man. Where it's like, wow. What was that
Yeah.
person doing on that day? What was they thinking? What, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of see a little fingerprint, a little smudge in it. I've had comic book pages where I've seen like little ink smudges with the finger going, yeah, that dude was a late night. You build stories in your head of what it must have been like. It's a late
Right.
night, crushing it, trying to get that time, and all of a sudden his finger just hits that ink, and he's like, ah, you know. But thank you,
Yeah.
you know, I'm happy because it's like, yeah, that's a part of that artist. It's on that paper. That's the joys of owning something that you're the only one who has it. So
Yeah,
digital,
definitely.
yes, I understand the machinations of digital, but you know, to each their own, I suppose. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It has its place. Yeah.
Yes, I would never want it to go away. See, anytime I say things like that, I understand the purpose, the place of why it exists. It's just like I see people when they say the whole argument against manga and comic books, and I'm like, why can't we just have both? I grew up, I was part of an anime group back in the '80s when it was rough. It was rough trying to like I remember they would print out they would transcribe what they're saying and stuff. But it didn't matter to me. I would just sit there. I would get everything. I'd be sitting there all like rocking. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, it's incredible stuff. And I loved a lot of the mangas and stuff from back then because I felt it was very adult about it. It was like Fist of the North Star, things like that were really strong characters and stuff like
Yeah.
very powerful. But with that said, I do also understand that comic books lost a generation in the '90s to
Yeah.
video games, and to manga. This new kind of the manga because Japan never changed their formula. They just were like, okay, cool, America. You don't want your kids. You don't want the kids to
Right.
be reading. Okay, cool. We'll take them, and they came in and
Yeah.
stuff. So I do understand that part where you got kids who grew up in the late '90s and they head into 2000s who love manga. But with that said, I want those kids to understand that the comic books here in America and the art form of it is a pretty cool art form.
It's,
It's a really cool art form. It's an art form that inspires so many others. If you really
Yeah.
want to look at the history of it, it inspired so many others. I got into this thing, not a thing, but I remember some guy was talking about the whole thing, trying to knock down King Kong, and I said, no, I said Kong is I love King Kong, and why? Well, King Kong's the first kaiju. First kaiju. I said, yeah. You look at the history, King Kong came out before Godzilla. And I will tell you this, King Kong is more of a horror story than anything. It's a horror movie. Skull Island is a terrifying place. I'd rather take Godzilla's Monster Island than Skull Island anytime. But it's like, you know, it's like you can like them both. I like Godzilla to a certain degree. Godzilla to me has always acted as, and which rightfully so, which I loved in the Godzilla -1, where Japan understands Godzilla, I think. Where Godzilla is like a force of nature, a monster. He comes in, he destroys stuff, and then he just leaves. That's just that's the Godzilla thing. Whereas King Kong, there's a little bit more layers to it. where Kong was like, there's a level of humanity, a sense of like, what am I doing, that kind of thing. And I love that aspect of Kong. I think that you can do some interesting stories with that character. And the same
Kong's
thing.
like the Americans saying, "Hey, let's monetize that monster. Let's bring him back to New York and show him off."
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I keep telling people, I always post that I think Legendary is smart as hell. That whole thing with MonsterVerse was brilliant. See, what they did was they licensed Godzilla. They used Godzilla, which was great. They used Godzilla as the selling pitch for their MonsterVerse. But underneath everything, they were developing King Kong to eventually be the main attraction as the movies go on and stuff. As you slowly been seeing how King Kong's being getting more airplay than Godzilla, because they're like, look, man, it ain't cheap, getting licenses. It is not cheap. And that's got to be a tough pill to swallow, man. When you're sitting there and it's made X amount of dollars and you're like, oh yeah, we got to pay those guys over there for the usage of their monster. Yikes. It's just I don't care what anybody, if we're going to sit here and get realistic about business, that's a tough one, man. Where you're like, man, we made money and like now we got to pay money. So the idea is that you want to be able to bring in, keep as much money as you can. So if you're going to do that, you might as well create original characters, and which they've done. They started creating more original characters. They got that show Monarch that's on Apple TV, doing pretty good. They're establishing their universe and building up. I think it's a brilliant plan. They did it in a smart way. They knew that they were going to have to bring people in because a lot of people didn't really care about King Kong, which is sad, but they really didn't. King Kong doesn't ever get that kind of airplay, just because he doesn't have cool fire breath and and all that stuff. He's just technically strong. I think he has a healing factor. I think, and that's it. But with them bringing King Kong in, what they did was they took a lot of the attributes of Toho's version of Kong, which was I saw it when I first saw him. I was like, I see what you guys are doing, and they took some of those aspects, and I think that they've made a really good, interesting King Kong from those. So kudos to them, man. That was brilliant.
Yeah, have you been watching that show Monarch?
I'm trying. That's like one of those. No. I'm messing with you, man. Of course.
Yeah, I only started it last week, so I'm not.
Oh man,
yeah, I've only watched the first 4 episodes, I think.
We are so grateful that we're at a moment where kaijus are like at the height. Like we're in a pretty good place. It helps us because me and Matthew, we're in a niche. We're a niche in the comic book industry.
Yeah.
Kaiju comic books, and I guess they're not like the Power Rangers, but books like that in that kind of realm, it's a very, you either got to be in it or you're not, that kind of thing. So it's a definitely a tough field. And then, when it's not characters that are like Godzilla, yikes.
Right.
So that's another tough thing too. But, you just got to keep persevering,
Yep. Very true. I know. Before we jumped on stream, we were talking a little bit about longevity in the art field, and we were saying some really interesting things about that. You want to?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny.
Go into that.
Yeah. I think the thing about it that people should understand is that when you look, first off, looking at comic books, you can't not think about business. And I think a lot of artists struggle with that. I remember back in the day when I first got into it, because originally when I first got into art, like my first real gigs and stuff was for a film production studio. And then I worked on 2 films for Miramax, and my name got into the credits as storyboard artist. And then I moved from there into animation, and I worked for this place called Olive Jar Animation. They used to they did a lot of, I think they did stuff for Liquid TV, MTV back in the day, and then they did some TV commercials and stuff. Great place. A lot of guys I know, like one of my ex-roommates, Andy Ristano, ended up leaving, going to San Francisco, San Fran, or out there on the West Coast, and he worked for Adventure Time. I think he got one of those awards or something for it. I'm very proud of him, very happy. And a couple of other guys I knew went off, Family Guy, that kind of thing. They were all animators. So I was really surrounded by some very creative individuals. Like their art styles were all different, very unique and different. But then after that, I think my last gig at Olive Jar was a Universal theme park. for the Incredible Hulk ride and Doctor Doom ride. They had they had hired them to do the cartoon. So when you go on the ride, I guess there's a cartoon you watch and it gives you the and so yeah, it was actually cool. That was really fun. I remember signing like an NDA and all that stuff at the time, and I was working on a lot of different designs, Hulk and all kind of stuff. But then once that job was gone, then it was like, okay, what else am I gonna do? And then one of my buddies was working for a big ad agency in Boston, and he said, "Frank, why don't you ready for advertising?" And so I said, "Yeah, I need to make some money." So then he said, "Okay, send some stuff." And then I sent comic book stuff, and I didn't get a call back. And I freaked out from the art buyer. I sent it to this particular agency he told me to send to. And I was like, "Dude, I don't know what happened." And my buddy was like, "Dude, what'd you send?" I said, "I sent some comic book stuff." And he said, "What are you, stupid?" He's like, "Frank, draw really fast." He said, "Open magazines and draw what you see in the magazine super fast. Marker renderings and stuff, and send those." And I did. I drew some quick. I just looked at a couple of magazines, drew some, just eyeing it, drawing stuff, did some mock-up ads, sent it. Next thing you know, bingo, bingo, I got on the job.
Nice.
And that was my first big gig was that Delta gig that I was telling you about, where the guy that little nonsense. So anyway, my point is that in anything, if you're going to be an artist and stuff, you have to think of the long run. I always say the bigger picture. Don't look at that big. If the bigger picture's there, and then all of a sudden you're just looking at a small little spot, and you focus all your energy toward a small spot, whatever that spot is. If it's financial gain and stuff like that, and you enter a market, say like comic books, then I think that you're going to get a rude awakening. To any person that has made it, say like financially, and right off the bat, luck plays a huge factor. They might have known somebody, that kind of thing, but most cases it might be luck, and that's something that doesn't go out a lot. Not a lot of luck out there. So with that said, is that you have to be realistic about what you're doing if you're going to try to get into this, and expect that this is going to be a journey. This is going to be a very long journey. I've always said that my spirit animal was a tortoise, and anybody who remembers that story, the tortoise kept on the path. He didn't stop. The hare took a nap because he's overconfident, believed that, I won the race and such, and we all know who won the race was a tortoise. You have to be realistic in anything that you're doing, especially in this kind of field, the art industry, especially with comic books. If you're going to try to do comic books and stuff like that, first, try to get a plan. Structure a nice, solid plan for yourself. Something that's realistic. Always be realistic. I always see some of these, and I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. Some of these crowdfunders where people are asking for an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
And you see the body of the work, and you go,
I've seen some of those.
I think
and then when they don't hit it, they say crowdfunding is dead.
Exactly. It turns to this big negative. And the thing is that they haven't done a lot of inflection. And the toughest thing for anyone to do is to be able to look at a mirror and look at that image that's in that mirror and then say, what do I have to do to work on myself better? What do I have to do to figure out how to get to the next step? So, well, first off, don't lie to yourself. If you're seeing people out there putting artwork out there that's at a level that you're not at, then you got to work on your artwork. And and how do you work on your artwork? Draw. I get tons of people that sometimes send me DMs, and they're asking for this fundamental mystery of drawing. And I just go, there's no mystery. You pick up a tool, whatever you're going to use to draw, and you draw. And you continuously draw. And you draw because you love it, because you're passionate about it. You don't draw if you're just drawing for a paycheck. I don't know how that really goes, because I was passionate about art. See, that was the thing. My temper, I learned to take a lot of that energy, that is the anger or the rage and stuff like that, and I use that as fuel, because I was like, I went to school, I got my diploma to be this, which says commercial illustrator. I have to validate that. So that's how I was able to make it. So whatever that is that you can use as your point of reasoning and rationale, then you use that and say, okay, I want to truly do this. What do I need to do to get to the next step? And then really look at what you're capable of doing. Now, if your artwork isn't that strong, then you got to work on your artwork. Now, like I said before, I love indie stuff and indie stuff. I still have zines from the day. My argument is not on style. because I love style. I think style is something that's an amazing thing, beautiful thing. I think we need more of it. I think the thing about it is most people need to educate themselves on the fundamentals of
the
doing
skills.
sequential artwork. The fundamentals are perspective, composition, layout, really going out there, understanding pacing of your story, those kind of things. You could have all kind of crazy stuff. I've seen people who can draw stick figures, even if you did stick figures. But you got to understand that how can you make those stick figures fascinating? They all can't be static artwork that you just place on, whatever. How's your panels? Are they just going to be like these simple panels, or are you going to do something? Are the panels themselves part of the artwork? You have to really be able to self, inflect within yourself and say, boom, what do I need to do to get to that next level, and work on it and be passionate about it. Now, if you're not passionate, then I don't know how to I don't know what to tell you, because I'm a passionate person. Ben is a passionate person. Justin is a passionate person. Passionate people stay on the field, and this goes that now it comes around to the longevity. A passionate person is somebody who doesn't give up. We've seen them in actors. John Cena, people look at that and I can wrestle. No, you don't know his full story unless you really dig deep. He's probably gone through a ton of stuff to get to where he's at. He had to learn a lot. He had to crawl before he could truly run. That's what we're all doing. We're walking. and some of us walk faster than others.
Right.
But we're on our feet moving, and we're moving ahead. But you may be at a point where you're just crawling. And that's okay. We've all been at that point of crawling. But you have to be able to have that level of fire in you that's going to keep you going. And definitely don't get into that the sort of frame of mind of blaming. I've never been a fan of looking at other things and saying that's the fault of you. That clearly can't be me, because I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm an imperfect person, and I'm fine to be imperfect. I can still smile in my imperfections.
Right.
So the thing is that, if you do something that's wrong, then you own up to it and you say, okay, what do I learn from that? I know that I can do better next time. Then that goes back to the equity. And once people see that and see that you're that kind of person, then of course they want to be around you. Of course they're going to be like, hey, maybe, I've seen you, you've been out here, you've been doing it, you've been staying true to the path and stuff like that. I heard about this gig. You think you can do it? I remember back in the day, I was much more generous in the sense of trying to pass things off to people. But then I started running into things where people couldn't take it. They couldn't handle the offerings. Like I had a guy once who I thought he was really good. He was up for a gig. I thought he would be up for a gig and stuff. So I was like, dude, I think you can do this and whatever. Okay. What happened was he bailed out on my client. And this was a big client. And so who do you think that reflects on?
And you, yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you this right now. I didn't work all my years and stuff to have somebody, because they can't follow through on something, wreck what I've done. That's why I chilled out on that stuff. I was like, no, I have to see that you have already earned some stuff before I'm gonna be like tossing my name along with that. And I keep it real. And that's the thing. And I think that I wish more people could keep things real. Just keep it real with people and say, look, man, I think you may have some potential, but you got to go out there and go for it and really work hard at it. This is all these people that are your heroes. What do you think they were doing?
Yeah.
Those long nights of drawing. They weren't out there hanging with their friends. They weren't clubbing. They were home drawing, man. They were following the dreams. That's the other aspect of it. There will be sacrifice. And you got to understand that. That depends on whether or not this is your dream. Now, maybe this isn't. I wish that one of the things about it that people could recognize what's the main thing that really truly makes them happy. Because I think there's many people who enter into this because it's a spur of the moment. Respectfully. I think sometimes they see something, like they watch the MCU movie or something, or see an anime on TV and they go, oh my God, I can do that.
Right.
Okay, you get that feeling, that rush, you feel like you can do it.
But they see somebody make a lot of money and they're like, hey, I can do that.
Yeah. It's like I used to read Stephen King's novels back when I was a kid. Yeah, even in high school, reading that stuff. Yeah. And in my head, I'd be like, wow, I feel like I could do that. I couldn't. I can't write like Stephen King.
Yeah.
That's fooling myself. That's fool. Those are the things where sometimes it's nice to have the fun, the fantasy of it, but that's a fantasy. You have to be able to realize what your true calling is. Look at if you are a mechanic, a great mechanic, like you're one of those people who can look at an engine, which I am always blown away. My brother-in-law is like one of those guys. He knows electronics and he knows engines. He can look at it and he can make that stuff happen. The magic of it. I know nothing about that. Then why not just go become the best mechanic out there?
Right.
Don't try to be an artist. Don't try to be a comic book artist and stuff like that, because maybe that's not your calling. Maybe that's your calling, to make amazing engines. I don't know, a plumber. Maybe you could be the greatest plumber ever, man. But that's your calling. That's your thing. People need to sort of take a deep breath and just say, hey, man, this is what I'm good at. If you could do models, like say sculpting and whatever, maybe that's your thing.
Right.
Become the best sculptor that you can, man. This isn't about trying to like not knock you down or anything like that. It's just being real with you and just saying, hey, look, sometimes I think you're trying to put that, what's that? The square peg.
Right, in the round hole.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're trying to do that kind of nonsense, look at the amount of time that you just lose. Because it turns into a month, it turns into 6 months, it turns into a year, 2 years, 3 years. And in that breath of time, you've lost so much time. You're not getting younger.
Yeah.
So it's like once I passed the 50 mark, I started really doing a lot of reflection. I said, like, I'm like, here we go. Now I'm in the second half of the despair and stuff. And I said, I want to start doing things that are going to be more meaningful to me. And I also want to leave a legacy. I've worked on a couple of different books, but it'd be nice to be able to leave something for the generation after. And then maybe somewhere I'll be grouped in with some of those artists that a lot of people don't really talk about these days anymore. They'll go, yeah, I remember that guy. He came on there with his dreadlocks, saying all this weird stuff, saying he was like a robot and a kaiju, and but he inspired me.
Right.
And you see my spirit, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Inspiration. Yes. Continue.
Right. No, I think that's a really interesting point you made there just a little bit ago about how, yes, luck is part of the recipe for success, but also talent, like understanding where your talents lie. Because they're not always necessarily going to be where you want them to be.
Yes.
And understanding that and accepting that.
I've heard of some people who were like, who weren't that strong drawing, but they were amazing inkers.
Yeah.
Or like, a colorist and stuff, where they were just like, I don't understand how to do the cut, but I can color really good. It's like, that's what I mean. If we're gonna stay in the realm of comic books, you never know. Maybe instead of a writer, you might be a better editor.
Yeah.
Or something. There's always room for different things. And then you sit there and you say, well, let me put my strengths toward that thing. Then maybe you might start seeing those changes and stuff in certain things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I remember again in my painting class back when I was in college, I had a professor who was really good at nailing, like just needling these people who didn't belong there, or just taking it just because it was for fun. They thought it was easy.
Yep.
And this one girl just ran out of the classroom crying because he was like just tearing through her artwork with that. And he's like, look, if you're gonna do this, prepare to be critiqued, prepare to get, looked at, picked apart. Yeah. If you can't take it now, you're not gonna take it, out there in the real world.
Well, there's always a fine line, because my teachers, when I went to Buteris, and that was the name of the school, Buteris School of Art, and it was on Beacon Street, across from the Hat Shell, and across from Emerson College too. I think Emerson had like their dorms, but Charles River and all that stuff. So anyway, it was a small school, and all of my teachers worked in industry. And I remember when I went there for, the first orientation. And so I had to bring in a still life. I think I did I did a duffel bag with charcoal and stuff. And then I had some comic book stuff that I did, and then some other stuff. And I remember my teacher, who I call one of my dads, his name was Charlie. He was the one doing the orientation. He said, okay, kid. He said, and he was like an ex-army guy too. He was in the army. And he's like, all right, kid. He's like, all right. He's like, I see you got some potential. He's like, you like comic books. So I was like, yeah. He's like, all right. He said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't play around here. He was like, we are here to teach you how to survive, to make money and survive as a professional artist. He said, if you want to, by your choice, if you want to have artwork that hangs on a wall and people come to see it and whatever, and technically you're like a starving artist in so many words, then by all means, we're not the school. We're not the school for you. We don't want to teach people that. We want you to understand that you are a contractor. You are a contractor. You will work for hire. You're working to receive money from clients who pay you for a service to be rendered.
Right.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Washington? I was like, cool. I remember I was just like, sure. I was like, no, I think I probably said like, sure. And I was in my 20s. And he said, okay, welcome to Butera. And so once I got to Butera, that first year was rough because I was young and I was still like, I still wasn't sure I had made the right choice because I had people in my life who kind of was like somewhat negative toward the idea of art, who felt that art was just something that was a fancy, it was like a, glorified hobby kind of thing. And I remember I had one day in my class, another teacher named Hal Trafford. He's left this world. Amazing art teacher. He saw that I was really troubled. Like I just was in class, I was very moody and stuff. And he said, Frank, he said, hey, he said, come on, Frank, let's go. Like it was a break time. And he said, come on, let's go for a walk. And I said, I don't know why. He said, come on, Frank, let's go for a walk. I said, okay. Went for a walk. Started walking down Beacon Street, or up Beacon Street, excuse me. And he said, how you doing? I said, I don't know. I was like, I really don't know if I made the right decision to do art. I'm scared. And he said, I understand. He said, Frank, he said, first off, I just want to ask you a few questions and then, whatever, and we'll see where this leads us. And I said, okay. So he said, Frank, he looked at one of the brownstones as we were walking by and he said, who do you think did this brownstone? And I was like, oh, you know how kids are. Oh, shoulders.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, he said, an architect. He said, you know what an architect is? An artist. And I said, wow. And I said, okay. And he said, okay. As we started walking past those, he said, we're looking at this place called the Public Gardens. And anybody from Boston would know there's the Boston Commons and there's the Public Gardens. So he said, the Public Gardens. And he said, it looks nice, huh? They did the flowers all nice and look how beautiful it is and stuff like that. He said, they landscaped that, huh? But they did the flowers a certain way where it's all colorful. That looks artistic to me, don't you think? And I said, yeah. He said, okay, cool. Let's keep walking. Kept walking. Walked up to the Cheers. Remember Cheers? The actual bar. And my school was one of the schools on the East Coast that still did sign painting. So I was surrounded by so you had commercial illustration and then it had sign painting. So these kids were like doing the sign painting old school way, which was amazing. Some of the work was like they would do like wizards on the side of vans back in the day, that kind of stuff. So we walked by the Cheers and he said, well, he said, you already know about the sign stuff. But he said, what about the clothes on your back? What do you think did that? And I said, an artist? He said, damn right. He said, an artist designed those clothes. He said, those cars that people are driving by, concept artists. He said, the buildings. He said, everything around you. He said, I never want you to ever feel that artists don't contribute anything to society, because we contribute everything to society, from entertainment to the clothes on your back. He said, I know why you're here. He said, mommy and daddy paid for some of those kids in that class. And I know that. I know that some of those kids are probably going to go for a career in art, but I know you will. That's why you're here. That's why you're going to succeed. And I want you to know that. And he said, if you ever feel like you feel the way you feel today, just come on over. Just let me know. And you can take a little break, take a little walk and get your thoughts back. And you come back and you do some artwork. And I said, wow. And of course, that's a crying moment, a tearful moment. Because I mean, he was like a
powerful story. I think I'm gonna cry.
He was a father figure. He was one of the many father figures in my life. And it just was like, wow, man, and he really opened my eyes up to it, that this was something bigger than me, that what I'm bringing to this world is my contribution. I'm bringing entertainment, right? Escapism, entertainment. You're bringing escapism, entertainment. Justin is too, to people, because we all know how effed up the world is.
That's right.
People need an escape. That's our job. Our job is to keep creating. We are those guys, those musicians on the Titanic, and we're playing because the people need to hear the music, even though things look bad. And they were bad for the Titanic. We're not there yet with the Titanic, but it was bad. And so the thing is that people need to have a way to escape it, just briefly. And if it means picking up a comic and opening it up and getting whatever that feeling or whatever they want to get from it, then so be it. We've done our part. That's when I get deeper into the meaning of what it means to be a comic book creator. I'm not going to sit here and do the standard thing that I see some people do. They go, oh, that's just such and such, and the artist. That's just given. We all were inspired by various different people. I'm talking about the deeper meaning behind what we're doing. The deeper meaning is that we're doing escapism entertainment for people so that they can have a respite from the madness that is going outside their windows or their doors.
Amen, Frankie.
Hopefully, I know, preaching it. And I said,
tell the truth and shame the devil.
That's the truth. It will set you free. I mean, the thing is, I want more artists. I want some of these youngsters to understand that this is it. Because when we go, then hopefully they'll keep this thing going. This kind of belief system that is much more than just funny pictures on a piece of paper. I know that comic books changed my life. I'm sure it did things for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard that comic books have taught people how to friggin' read.
Yeah.
You know, this is the power that they've done. Didn't matter what comic book it was. Somehow it helped somebody do something.
Yeah.
So if we can do that to me is very powerful. So
it is. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So many kids graduating nowadays who can't read. That's just a sad state of the world.
It is sad. It's a very sad thing. And so, you know, it's like we do our part.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
This is, for me, it's not about the whole thing of whether or not, you know, I'm getting accolades and awards and stuff like that. And that's meaningless to the thing of like actually looking into the eyes of some child who has your comic book in their hands and their eyes are just beaming with this sense of just like endless possibilities. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm part of this. I'm part of this psyche right here. Because that's what I felt. That's when I felt when I met some of my heroes. Staring at them going, wow, man, you were there. I was there. You were there with me, you know, such and such. As I was going through school, those late nights, those frustrated moments, and you were there.
That's awesome, Frankie. That was a powerful story. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, wow.
That's the best TED Talk I've ever heard.
Man.
I'm ready to go draw now.
Yeah, me too.
One of those gurus. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to end up being one of those gurus. Like white dreads, man, all connected to the ground. Like I'm not even moving anymore. I'm just connected to like a piece of rock and stuff. I become part of the world. What do you want to know? Grasshopper. Grab the pebble from my hand.
I'd like to learn 3-point perspectives.
I know. There you go. Composition is reality. Your layouts are important. Oh man.
Everybody go out and back Kaijus and Cowboys issues 1 through 8 on Kickstarter. It looks like we already hit your goal, so everything else is just icing on the cake. Go out there and support it.
We love having new readers. That's the main thing for us. We want readers who we call our writers. So if you're willing to take the chance and ride along with us, then by all means. Or if you know somebody who might be interested in kaijus and stuff and this kind of storytelling, by all means. You know, these make great gifts. Or just for yourself. And then if you're not even into that, you also have the option of commissioning me to do some artwork for you.
Yep. If you got kids, you got nephews, nieces who need something, get them some comic books.
Yes. Comics are fun. And we always try to add different things. Like, you know, one of the things I talked to Matthew about is like, I'm not a big fan of 1,000 variant covers. I'm just not a fan of that kind of stuff. I think that it drives me nuts. But with that said, we do have a variant on here, and we usually keep our variant count very low because also as collectors, it's just better. You know, you shouldn't have to be chasing down a certain particular variant or whatever. There's our trade paperback. Very happy about that. Volume 1. And then that's the variant cover right now that Dope Pope. That's what he calls himself, Dope Pope. He's a phenomenal artist. He also does mostly 3D sculptures.
Okay.
That he does, and he does a lot of kaiju stuff and whatever. Tremendous guy, great guy. And then this is the cover I did for our one shot. Now, the funny thing about that one shot is I actually have, let's see, where is it? And I should have kept it out too. Oh, here it is. Originally, this was how it originally looked. This when we originally had this on one of our campaigns years ago.
Okay.
And it was all black and white. But then Matthew came to me and he said, Frank, we have a few more stories of Team KS1. Now, Team KS1 is technically what's going on Earth, which we've never told that story. So Kaijus and Cowboys, think of it more as the future. This is everything like, the future of humanity and that kind of thing. Well, back at Earth, this is the past, where we see the Kaijus in full battle, and then human beings were fighting them in sort of like these mech armored suits and that kind of thing. And so we did release it, but then Matthew came back and he said, Frank, we got these other stories that need to come out, and it'd be cool if it was more full color. And so we decided to just do a one shot, just so people can get prepared, because there's a chance these guys are coming. That's all I'll say. There's a chance they're coming. Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, go out there and support Kickstarter Kaijus and Cowboys issues 1 through 8 by Frankie
and Matthew Blair.
And Matthew Blair, yes. Can't forget the writers. Yeah.
Yes, well, that's the thing. I told Matthew when we first went together, I said I don't want us to have a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby issue.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing to me. Is that I had mentioned it online before that I had finished listening to this amazing book. I'm telling everybody out there, it's called The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee. It's a phenomenal book, because what it did was it opened my eyes to the one aspect of a person. He created this character who was Stan Lee, who we all loved, and who was like, phenomenal, and he inspired so many of us. But then the person behind him was doing some pretty messed up stuff behind the scenes and stuff. And Jack Kirby was one of the people that felt the brunt of it, and he was just, one of the. It's just sad stuff. And so for me, I'm very cautious about that, like, because I'm the one who's people usually see online a lot. I'm always talking. You see me on stuff, so people look at that and they immediately go, "Oh, you're Kaijus and Cowboys and stuff like that," and that's cool. But I don't want Matthew to get lost in it, because I'm not writing the story.
Right.
We talk, ideas on characters and stuff like that, but he's writing this story. He's an intricate part of this team. And so I just don't want him to get lost in the mixture, because people are looking at the artwork and going, oh, wow, the artwork and stuff like that and such and such. I love that. But also, I am not going to let people let him get lost behind the scenes, behind whatever. I'm not going to overshadow him.
Well, it's nice of you, Frankie.
Hey, I'm a strong believer in karma. I don't mess around with karma, man. Karma is something real to me, and I feel like if you do some good out there, then hopefully good stuff comes back to you.
Definitely. Well, Frankie, we've been at it for an hour and almost 40 minutes.
Woohoo! All right.
Flew by.
Dragon
it just flew
ears.
by.
Dragon ears and claiming victims. Hey, Chad, you guys are wonderful.
Yeah, Chad, thank you guys for being here.
Yes.
Frankie, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. I love your stories. Love listening to you talk, man. You inspire me. Let the art flow, right?
Yes, the art flow, man. Keep that art flowing. Keep it. And I say collective strong. Keep collective strong and the art flowing. And you guys inspire me as well. Like that's one of the things about it, is that this door swings. It swings both ways. I want to, when I look online and I see a lot of you guys work, I get inspired. It takes me back to the times when I used to do a lot of cons in my early days, and I would just be walking around, and you see somebody's artwork, and all of a sudden my hands all twitchy, and I'm just getting excited looking at how their style, how they approach to certain things. Did that person crosshatch? Did they something? That's how it should be. I have no jealousy. I have no jealousy for other artists and stuff like that. I want to see us all making stuff so we all get inspired. And so it forces us to get to the next level. So anyway, I just thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again for everything you do. You're a huge inspiration, man. You really are.
Oh, you guys see, now you got me blushing. And thank you so much, chat. Thank you for, letting this old dusty guy, rant on. I give you back your ears. But anyway, have fun. Have fun. If you're future artists out there, just remember, dream high. There's no problem dreaming high. Just be realistic about the stuff. You will make it. You will make it in some form or fashion, but just do it in a way that benefits you. Look at your strength. Go for the stuff that you're really passionate for. Focus on your strengths, and you will get to where you need to get to. And with that, I bid adieu. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, Frankie, we'll have to have you back on. Hopefully not another 2 years later. We'll do it soon.
Definitely not. Most definitely. Thank you so much. I had a pleasure.
All right. Thank you,
All right,
chat.
man.
Thanks, everybody who watched.